So as you all know, 2019 has begun, and that means that Splatoon 2 content updates have come to an end. Though it's pretty sad that there aren't going to be any more bamboozlers added to Splatoon 2, I've taken it upon myself to start thinking about the next Splatoon game. There are a lot of things that can be added, and so in this video I'm going to be trying to predict what we'll end up seeing in Splatoon 3. There's some very optimistic people that think Splatoon 3 is going to be coming out in 2019, but I doubt it. The argument that it will come out in 2019 is that there was a 2-year gap between Splatoon 1 and 2, and so that gap will be the same between 2 and 3. However, Splatoon 2 has been getting updates for much longer than Splatoon 1, and also it was rushed to its release so that it could push sales for the Switch. Though I think 2019 is too early, I do think Splatoon 3 will come out on the Switch. Nintendo does like to make their games one game per system, but multiplayer games are much easier to develop than say a new Zelda, and Splatoon is really popular in Japan. I mean, look at the difference in sales between Splatoon 2 and Breath of the Wild in Japan, it's crazy. My guess is that Splatoon 3 will come out in either holiday of 2020 or summer of 2021. Now onto the game itself. Yeah, they can fix a lot with this. Ideally, I'd like there to be ranked and unranked battles, where you could queue up and be given a random map in a random mode. This way, you don't get bored of playing Clan Blitz on the same 2 maps over and over and over and over and over and over. However, Nintendo likes to be different with online, and so I think we'll see the same way of having stupid rotating maps and stages. They might add a voting system to decide stages like in Mario Kart, but I think that's a bit too hopeful. Something I do think they'll change though is returning back to the Splatoon 1 ranking system, where there's one rank for all the modes. This makes a lot of sense since it's likely that Splatoon 3 will introduce more ranked modes and it'll be too difficult to remember all the various ranks. So what are some of the new modes gonna be? I have no idea. My idea for a new ranked mode is a beacon mode, where you ink beacons throughout the map to score points. Basically Splat zones but with several locations. However, Nintendo does like to be special, and so I'm predicting that they'll have some sort of strange gimmicky modes to bring. Unlike Splatoon 2, I think Splatoon 3 is gonna launch with 1 or 2 new modes. Or at least I hope so. Something else I think will be added in Splatoon 3, which I think many people want, is the option to spectate battles that your friends are in, instead of just seeing a timer count it down. The spectate feature already exists in private battles, and so it shouldn't be that hard to implement it in regular games. As for private battles, I'm just gonna hope Splatoon 3 has some customizable features, and I honestly don't doubt that this could happen. I can easily imagine a system similar to Smash Ultimate, where you can create presets with edited rules such as game length, what weapons can be used, and even features that aren't included in the main game, like giving people certain speed, blindness that can be used for hide and seek, invincibility for squid parties, or a deathmatch setting where if you get splatted once you become a spectator. They can make private battles act like an entirely new mode and advertise it as such. It makes a lot of sense to do this, and I think it will be a feature in Splatoon 3. Also, I really want the squid jumping game thing back. I swear, if this doesn't return, I'm not buying the game. Believe it or not, at launch, Splatoon 2 only had 8 stages, 2 of which were returning from Splatoon 1. After launch, around half the newly added stages were from Splatoon 1, and around half were brand new. I'm predicting that Splatoon 3 will start with more stages than Splatoon 2 did. There will be 12 stages, with 8 being new and 4 being old. Those 4 old stages will be half Splatoon 1 and half Splatoon 2 stages. Also, I'm predicting the Flounder Heights will come back to life. Hopefully. I hope that the Splatoon 3 stages are going to have mechanics from the single-player campaign. Hopefully they don't go as far as some of the shifty station maps, which just make the game unplayable by locking you in a cage and stuff, but think about it. What if there's a volcano stage, and then periodically during the battle, these inky geysers just start shooting ink everywhere, and the volcano can also rumble and then the platform starts shifting. Like, they can make these stages really immersive. Either way, I'd be fine with the stages as long as Snapper Canal isn't coming back. This is kind of the category that I should be able to talk a lot about, but in all honesty, I played like half an hour of the single player campaign in Splatoon 2, and I didn't really like it, and I never got Octo expansion, so I don't really know what to say here. I just think that the single player campaign in Splatoon 3 is going to be a lot more like Octo expansion gameplay wise. As for the story, I think they'll try to combine the worlds of Octo Expansion and Octo Canyon to kind of make this weird crossover where you've got the Inklings, Octolings, Squid Sisters, Off the Hook, Octarians, Cucumber thing. It's just gonna be everyone. I don't know how it's gonna work, but I think that's what's gonna happen. Unless they choose to do something completely original, but that'll most likely be DLC. Inkopolis is honestly fine the way it is, and so I don't really know why they change it. I do think though that they'll add an arcade where you can play the squid jumping game that I don't know the name of, the dance game that I don't know the name of, and some new stuff that'll be added in Splatoon 3. All the shops and Krusty Sean's food truck will probably stay the same way because I don't know why they changed that. I do think though they'll add some sort of new type of gear just for lulz, like maybe bracelets or something. Now here's something more interesting that I'm predicting. You know how Spike is really sketchy in Splatoon 1, and then in Splatoon 2 he's like in a cafe and he's not sketchy anymore? I think the same thing will happen to Grisco. It'll turn from sketchy to unsketchy, and it'll be proudly on display in Inkopolis. It'll still be closed half the time for no reason though. However, there has to be something to replace Grisco as the sketchy organization of Inkopolis. So here's what I think. There's going to be a secret group of jellies that are in the corner of Inkopolis gambling their sea snails. Basically, you go in, bet a certain amount of sea snails, then do some sort of challenge like popping a certain amount of balloons in 30 seconds or something, and then if you complete the challenge, you win additional sea snails, and if you lose the sea snails you gamble. This offers a new way to get sea snails aside from Splatfests, and it seems like a cool little mini game that could be added. And then there's the question of split screen. Will Splatoon 3 allow you to have multiple players on one Switch playing together? No, but actually, I don't see it happening. It's like the same, but with new maps and bosses. Well, at least the traditional Salmon Run. I think we'll have multiple Salmon Run modes. I have many different ideas for the new Salmon Run modes that can be added. First, there can be endless Salmon Run, where the waves just keep going up and up until you lose, and the prizes are insane. There can be competitive Salmon Run, where there are 2 egg baskets, and 2 teams of players compete to get more eggs. There can even be hardcore Salmon Run, where you can't be revived. However, I feel that the hardcore and endless Salmon Run modes might be a bit too intense for Nintendo to want to add them, and so I'm putting my money on competitive Salmon Run. Honestly though, I'm completely fine with that. It sounds really fun running past other squiddos and snagging their eggs. However, I don't think Salmon Run's going to be the only new mode in Splatoon 3. Yeah, I'm just going with Octarian Mode because I can't think of a better name. But I do think that the long-awaited AI fighting mode is going to become a reality in Splatoon 3. I'm also going to be using my profound artistic abilities to display the mode that I'm thinking of. You and 3 other squiddos start off on a randomly selected island, kind of like the ones in Octo Expansion. Your team fights Octarian AI on the island, and then if you splat them all, you get Zapfish, and you super jump to the next island. The islands themselves don't have set difficulties, only the Octarian AI. As you go from island to island, the AI would become more difficult, and like Salmon Run, if all 4 players get wiped out before you can get the Zapfish for that island, your game ends. The amount of Zapfish you collect can determine your score. The entire concept is really specific and probably won't happen, but I want it to, so fight me. No matter how much they update Splatoon, it's never going to be a balanced game. I do think though that Splatoon 3 will end up being the most balanced of all the 3 games. At launch there will be 2 new types of weapons. I don't know what they'll be, but I'm going with the number 2. Specials seem to be really balanced in Splatoon 2, and so I don't think they'll completely change them again, but I do think something will happen to subs. This is a bit of a stretch, but I think there's a possibility of each weapon having 2 sub-weapons. They'll be in 2 categories, with one sub being an attack sub-weapon and one being a passive sub-weapon. Again, I'm not the best at naming these things. Basically, the attack subs are all the bombs, and then the passive subs are everything like beacons, splash walls, toxic mist, and some other things that can be added in Splatoon 3. Some ideas I have for these subs include temporary jetpacks, temporary shields, or beacons that can be placed to amplify things like swim speed for the Inklings close to the beacon. The idea is to separate bombs from the other subs, since in Splatoon 2 for the most part, all the bombs are good and everything else is bad. Both attack and passive subs can drain ink, and you can have one be used with the right shoulder button and the other be used with the left. It's a weird idea, but it works, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that in Splatoon 3. And so I guess that covers everything that will change in Splatoon 3, or at least everything I think will change. Be sure to like the video and subscribe if you found this interesting, because this video took a lot of work to make. Wait. Who's gonna judge the battles? Is Lil Judd gonna have a child, or is he just gonna grow and then Big Judd's gonna die, or is Big Judd an immortal being who's transcended time and space?